The Lord be with you. Anybody remember church league volleyball? This is the time of year that it would normally be going on. It typically starts in early January, right after the new year, and would carry on until kind of mid-February. Not a super long season, but I'm beginning to notice its absence this year. I remember when it first got introduced, Randy brought it to us and kind of said, what do you think about church league volleyball? And this would have been going into the winter of 2015, 2016. And, I had been in church league volleyball in the past, never here at Zion, and certainly had a lot of good community, a lot of good camaraderie through that. So I said, what's the worst that can happen? Let's give it a try. We'll promote it. We'll see who's interested. Over the years, that has become quite an interesting thing. Interesting because of the people who come out to it. Not always the people you would expect. By the time we had ours last year, we had 3 teams that were able to take the court each Sunday. Now, granted, they weren't 3 full teams, 3 fully functional teams. You kind of had to beg, borrow, and steal from each other through every game. We would play 3 cycles on Sunday, so sometimes you didn't know when you went to show up for your own game that you were scheduled to play, if you would end up playing just that one time slot, or if you'd end up in 2 or 3 time slots as other teams kind of borrowed from you. Sometimes even other churches you could play on their team just so they had enough to kind of field an actual competitive team. So what was interesting is just the different levels of players that we would get. You have those kind of grizzled players, those ones who wear the full battle gear, as I like to call it. Sometimes, the knee braces, the back brace, the wrist guard. You have those people who are actual volleyball or former volleyball players who actually know how to play. You have those people who are competitive, even though it is not a league where they keep track of the scores of games or how many wins or losses over the season. But you have those people who like to show up and who like to play, and you play to win. And they would keep mental notes of how well the day went. We had all sorts of ages. There were older couples, older individuals, younger individuals, families sometimes would play. So we had Randy and Ann, and again, just so thankful for them introducing the league to us a few years ago. You would have Erica and Matt would typically play with us, and again, not even members of our congregation. So you didn't have to be a member to come and play. You could have your friends from other churches come and join you. We had John and Sandy. We had Lynn. We would sometimes have people bring coworkers. And that was fun. I know Jess played. Sometimes you would have the really young kids on the sideline watching, like Lincoln or Seth. And some of our teenagers participated. Technically, you need to be 14 to be in the league, but we've had Trinity play. We've had Andrea. My son Ethan has played. You had your pastors out there playing. And even though it was just for fun, it could be grueling. It was some good exercise. You could really get running around, moving. Sometimes as you would get limbered up and a little more risky, you might actually dive for some things. And again, we're talking those hard gym floors. So Many of us had some soreness, some injuries. I tore a calf muscle one season. We've had people injure their thumbs. We've had people have swollen wrists and forearms for a couple of days after. Some of us have a hard time getting out of bed the next morning. You just use certain muscle groups that you're not expecting. But all in all, I really look back on those times as quite fun and quite favorable. And it makes me grieve a little bit. Last year, our season got interrupted mid-season. So even though, like I said, it was only a January, February league, by the time we got into early February, people, even though lockdown didn't really kick in until towards the end of March, people, groups, facilities started to become a little more germ conscious in kind of that late January phase. So a lot of things, including a rec league, church league volleyball, got postponed, put on hold, and it never came back. And then this year, we never had it at all. And I started to notice in mid-January that something felt a little off, and it wasn't until we rounded the corner into February that I realized it's no volleyball this year, none at all. We didn't start the season or anything. One of the fun things at the end of the season was always we would have kind of a bust-up party, and there would be food and fellowship, and a few people would create some pretend awards, because again, we didn't keep score, and everybody kind of had their own quirky characteristics throughout the season. So I miss all of those things. And I don't want you to think that it's not coming back. You know, one of the errors that it's easy for us to slip into when everything keeps getting postponed indefinitely is people just sort of start to get forgetful. You know, you get out of the rhythm of something, you get out of the habit of it, and you think it's just not coming back again, or when it does, I'm just probably not going to jump in. Now, don't let that happen with church league volleyball. It's too important. So don't slough off. Keep yourself mentally fit. Keep yourself trained physically so that when it does come back around, you can jump in and not tear a calf or a bicep muscle or something. Keep praying, keep waiting, and keep hoping. And until we can play volleyball together again, I want you all to know that I miss you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on the court. And in these days of ongoing pandemic, may the peace of God be with you. Amen.